Welcome to the Swine Health Blackbelt Podcast, the latest swine health research digested for you. My name's Dr. Clayton Johnson, and I'm the host of the podcast. Joining me for today's episode is Sara Pardall, an independent swine consultant who's here to talk a little bit about biosecurity from the farm perspective. Sara, welcome to the podcast. It's nice to see you again, and fantastic to have you on the show. I know you and I know each other from working together, but why don't you give the audience a little bit of background about who you are, what got you into pigs, and what your experiences with pigs have been in your career?
Thanks, Clayton. Really great to be here. Thanks for having me. Good to see you again as well. So I first had experience with pigs when, of course, it's fair season right now. So 4-H, definitely, right? Got involved with pigs in 4-H. Volunteered at a finisher, and the rest is history. I went to Iowa State, graduated with my bachelor's in animal science, and then went on from there, as you well know, to manage a breed to wean sow unit, 5,600 head sow unit for about 8 years, right? So, yep, that's kind of my extent. That's where my focus and most of my experience is as well. So.
And as I understand it, at that sow unit, you had many good veterinarians and one very crappy one, but we're not going to talk about that one very crappy one, right? We're not going to bring that guy up. He tried really hard. Things just didn't go well, okay?
Okay, whatever you say. Whatever you say, Clayton.
All right. Now, in all honesty, Sara, for the audience's perspective, you and I have worked on biosecurity at the farm level before. We have done all the normal, vet and farm manager interactions in terms of what are your concerns, what training should we do with the farm team? What ultimately do we think is the biggest risk to this farm not being successful? Because most farms that aren't successful, it's because they're sick, right? You ran a very, very successful farm for a long time. And as long as that farm stayed healthy, we made a lot of pigs, right? We made a lot of pigs, made a lot of people happy. But when that farm gets sick, even with great breeding team, great farrowing team, wonderful gilt development, only so much you can do with a sick farm. So talk to us about biosecurity from the farm perspective, Sara. What are the important things that you're looking at every single day?
Well, of course, Clayton, we have the basic biosecurity things that we all know of, right? I mean, showering in, all out procedures. New pigs are a huge risk, that type of thing. We all know those kinds of things, right? But what I've really focused on the farm level are the small details, right? The very small details like that are really easy to miss. So for example, foot traffic, right? Washing your boots, those kinds of things. So we don't want to go from neonates to wean pigs back to neonates again, right? So because I always told the farm staff, treat those wean pigs as the dirtiest animals on the farm, right? Think of them as the most diseased things that you have, right? Get that into your mindset, right? Because you don't want to take that back to your new baby pig. So of course, separating your staff, of course, giving them each detailed things to do to keep them in those areas, right? And of course, sanitation practices, washing hallways, washing boots, and maybe if that's not possible, even investing in additional pairs of boots, additional boot wash stations, equipment, just anything that can transfer from room to room or litter to litter, right? So if that means washing equipment off, getting designated equipment for rooms, that kinds of things, changing gloves. So that's really the kind of stuff that I would try to focus on at the farm level, just to be sure that we're not, if there is disease on the farm, or anywhere, right? Just that's a safe way to think about it, right? Just to not spread anything around, right? So that's kind of the mindset that I had.
Yeah. Details and mindset are very important for biosecurity. You trained, certainly new employees at the farm, probably some of them that have worked on other farms and others that have no farm experience before. Biosecurity is a foreign language to some folks when they come to the farm. What are the things, Sara, with training that are pretty easy to train? And even if somebody's never been to a farm before, right? Like you mentioned showers, right? Everybody has taken a shower before, even if they haven't been to the farm before. So what are the things that you're like, on day one, you can go through these things pretty fast with somebody and they'll pick it up. But then also, what are the things you can't go through fast? What are the things that maybe for us, if we worked on a farm for a long time, they're intuitive and we just, we don't think about it. But for a new employee, it's complex and you got to go slow and really make sure they get it.
I would say it's definitely going from weaned pigs to baby pigs, because you have to learn where those weaned pigs are, and that always moves, right? And you have this new employee who's just trying to figure out where the office is, and now they've got to let alone figure out where the weaned pigs are and where the baby pigs are. So it's also really helpful to have someone who's experienced with them to try to kind of train that into them, right? And just lead them around and show them, okay? And sanitation is such a huge thing on sow farms, and people who haven't worked with animals or pigs before just don't realize that. You go into a sow farm thinking it's dirty, they're pigs, right? They're animals, this is a farm, right? But sanitation and cleanliness is such a huge factor. So it's kind of hard to get past that kind of stereotype that it's a farm and they're pigs and they're dirty, to make sure that people are changing their clothes if they need to change their clothes, washing their boots if they need to wash their boots, staying out of the hallway if they need to stay out of the hallway at that point in time. Timeliness is a huge thing too. You don't want your workers who are working with baby pigs out in the hallway tramping around with weaned pigs, right? That kind of thing. So I would definitely say get them a training person, to lead them around and show them what's what kind of thing.
How long does it take when you're training a new person on biosecurity stuff before you feel comfortable that they can be by themselves throughout the farm? I mean, will you have them be with a buddy for a certain period of time early in their employment just to make sure they don't do something crazy like run outside with their farm clothes and boots on?
That depends, honestly, on the person. And I mean, we throw a lot of things at these people, like on their first day or even in their first week, right? They're gonna forget some things, right? They're gonna forget, I can't just step out of this door at this time, right? So it kind of all just depends on the person, because everybody learns at different rates too, right? So it's, I think communication with that is really important, and it's just seeing how that person is feeling, if they're feeling overwhelmed, if they need things repeated. It's very person specific, right? So it depends on what their specific job is at the farm and just how they're feeling. So I think communication with that employee is extremely, extremely important.
How can the vets be of best assistance? I say vets because we're kind of the technical people that come to the farm. But maybe throw in your production leadership in this same question. The folks that come to the farm not every day, when they're there, how can they be most helpful from a training standpoint? Do you want them to actually go through training, maybe repeat the same things you've already told them? Or is it better that they work directly through the farm manager, or is it kind of a blend of both?
I would say it's kind of a blend of both. Really hit on the hard areas, like the things that you catch yourself having to think about, like an experienced person that has to think about like actually what they're doing. Imagine what that's like for farm employees, right? Very, very easy to miss. And I think, explaining it to people is one thing, but it is entirely separate thing to show them what you're talking about, right? Show them what you're talking about. And then if it's an action, have them do it in front of you, right? So, because you could be teaching this, like telling them about it for 6 months. And then on the 7th month, you go and you watch them do it, and they've been doing it wrong the whole 6 months, right?
Sure.
So I think just watching what is happening on the farm, right? Get there first, watch people take off their shoes, watch them, put their lunch through, however that process is supposed to go, and just make sure that every little, chain link in the chain of biosecurity is very, very strong. So that's definitely, I think, important, is just watching and showing.
Yep. Very well said, Sara.
Through continuous innovation, trusted solutions, and accountable insights, the Lawn Co. is invested in helping you achieve the full value of every decision. Their portfolio offers solutions to manage disease challenges, minimize variation, and mitigate mortality to optimize pig health.
Sara, it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast. If I can twist your arm, maybe you can come back here for a biosecurity podcast round 2 and tell us what really happens on the farm when we are paying attention. What do you think about that?
Would love to. Love to. Sounds awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone in the audience. Really appreciate you listening into the podcast. Sara, thank you so much for coming on the show. Please check us out at swinehealthblackbelt.com. If you haven't been to the website, please subscribe to the podcast so that you can catch up not only with this episode, but all our future episodes. For Sara Pardall, I'm Dr. Clayton Johnson. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.